August 7th, 2020, an absolutely remarkable day in history. As Lana and I awoke in our secret vacation home in Mayville, New York, I began counting down the seconds until 11 a.m. when the Analogue Mega SG cartridge adapters finally went back on sale. The ability to play every Game Gear, Sega card, and SG-1000 game was finally within reach, and immediately after I pulled the trigger on a pretty nice box copy of Monaco GP from a seller in Kansas. Start your engines, motherfuckers. Given that this whole thing is about seeing the quote-unquote console wars from the other side, it may sound funny to hear that the very first two video games I ever played in my life were the ColecoVision versions of Donkey Kong and Zaxxon, a Nintendo game and a Sega game. And Janelle Jickway's was director of design on both, so that's just like... Now, having played the ColecoVision version of Donkey Kong at the baby age, I didn't have that initial pure experience of the actual OG arcade game. But I have this weird feeling when I play Monaco GP. It's so simple and distilled and addictive, and it's probably the closest I'll ever come to the impossible notion of being a teen in an early 80s arcade. Of course, the original Monaco GP was all discrete logic, and you can't jump like you can here in the SG-1000 version, so maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I might be underselling it here, but imagine a Cro-Magnon comfort food version of Spy Hunter or Bump and Jump, and that's Monaco GP. The arcade version kept score on external LED counters, so you could actually max it out. That's not the case here. Also, you can jump, which feels oddly exhilarating, although your score counter pauses while you're in midair. The basic highway you start on is interrupted by patches of ice that make steering miserable, narrow bridges that sometimes have a gap in them, tunnels where your visibility is narrowed to just whatever's in your headlights, and a few incidental hazards like construction sites and kamikaze ambulances. It all coalesces into something that's more entertaining than it has any right to be. Even the droning engine noise is mind-numbing in a soothing kind of way. Switching off the natural palette with the Mega SG gives everything a darker feel, but not in a gothy sort of way. In true Sega fashion, a barely updated sequel was released the same year as the first arcade version, and then it went downhill from there. The top-down style was abandoned and replaced with a stereotypical first-person driving game, and an ill-thought-out remake was developed by Tamsoft and released in 2003 as part of the Sega Ages 2500 line. Perhaps that's why this gem is buried? It was finally redeemed a little in 1997 as the discrete logic arcade version was emulated on the Sega Memorial Selection Volume 2 comp for the Saturn. Also, can we go back to that cocktail model? It's fucking beautiful. You could fit a whole tray of 25-cent Natty Bows on that sumbitch. In a nutshell, do whatever you can to play this. Find accurate emulation, or get a Mega SG and the cartridge adapter in the actual game. It's really fun. Up next, it's Great Ice Hockey. More like fucking whatever ice hockey. Up next, it's Shanghai, a Master System port of Brody Lockard's 1981 easy-to-learn, hard-to-master, solitaire-esque matching game that's played using Mahjong tiles. It's a lot easier than actual Mahjong, and as a result, a lot less likely to get me stabbed. I was shocked to find that I couldn't stop playing this. I'm talking like equivalent to the time I put into stuff like Gauntlet 4 or Gold Alias. Once my partner Lana got involved, it got competitive, or at least competitive in a lopsided way since she's a lot better at this than I am. You start with 144 tiles, which include the honor tiles, season tiles, and flower tiles, in addition to the 3 main suits, and if you don't know what any of those mean, that's perfectly fine. You shouldn't be encouraging me anyway. There are 4 copies of all the tiles except the seasons and flowers, and it's your job to match them 2 at a time and clear the entire board. I totally just said it's your job again, didn't I? The catch being you can't choose a tile if it's blocked on either the left or the right side. In addition, seasons can match with any other season, and flowers with any other flower. That's it, that's the game. Odds are just under 3% that a randomly generated pile of tiles is unsolvable, and there actually are 10 prefab configurations you can choose from if you want to approach the same layout of tiles from a different angle several times. The main gist of a 2-player game is, your moves are timed, and each pair is worth a point. Eventually, odds are someone will choke, and if you can find a pair when your opponent couldn't, your score pulls ahead by 1. The shape of the pile you're playing with is typically referred to as the turtle, and future sequels in the Shanghai series added tons of variations on the layout. While the 1980s computer versions made the game more widely known, it's actually an old children's game invented in China. How old? Nobody knows. It's probably easier to list the systems that didn't have a port of Shanghai after it got big in 1986. So, according to my research, the only platforms that don't have a Shanghai port would be like the BBC Micro and Acorn Electron, the Virtual Boy, Zeebo. Anything that ran on like VHS or Laserdisc is definitely very well be some homebrew stuff out there. Atari system that had it aside from probably the home computers. I don't know. I don't really have a way to end this episode. Okay, fine. I guess the hockey thing was a cop-out, and I tend to not half-ass anything. But listen, it needs the Sega Sports Pad, the weird trackball that the Master System had. And, like, mine is in such a state of disrepair that, like, this is the ball right now. They're kind of expensive on eBay all of a sudden. And mine had a button that wasn't working, and then my dumbass kind of super glued that button in place. And there's like a weird grease that's supposed to be on the rollers inside the trackball. Anyway, the original plan was to have like a couple of the trackball games all in one episode, but the trackball's busted, and general consensus is like great ice hockey is literally actually very bad. Even if the grease is working. Even if the grease is working. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Up next, great ice hockey. More like, fuck you. Up next, it's Shanghai,